For weeks before she was murdered, Lauren Giddings told friends something felt wrong inside her apartment. Items seemed out of place. The atmosphere felt disturbed. She couldn't prove anyone had been inside, but she knew something wasn't right. What Lauren didn't know was that the man living next door had already been secretly entering apartments for months, watching her through windows, tracking her online, and planning something far worse. And almost nobody noticed him. In the spring of 2011, Stephen McDaniel was a third-year law student living at Barristers Hall near Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. To everyone around him, he looked harmless, quiet, intelligent, controlled, the kind of person neighbors barely remembered speaking to. He had earned a presidential scholarship at Mercer years earlier while studying business before continuing into law school. As a teenager, he sang in the Atlanta Boys Choir. Later, he volunteered restoring churches across Georgia. At Mercer Law, he joined the Federalist Society and eventually became vice president of its student chapter. Nothing in his public life suggested violence. Lauren Giddings lived directly next door. Born in Tacoma Park, Maryland, Lauren was the oldest of three sisters and the first person in her family to attend college. She built her future deliberately, one decision at a time. Friends describe her as warm, outgoing, deeply compassionate, but also focused and ambitious. She wasn't drifting through life, trying to figure things out. She already knew exactly who she wanted to become. After studying political science and religious studies, Lauren enrolled at Mercer Law with a clear goal: becoming a public defender. She cared about people who couldn't defend themselves. She volunteered with organizations focused on wrongful convictions and advocacy work, believing the legal system should protect vulnerable people rather than simply reward power. By the spring of 2011, she had reached a major milestone. After years of work, she graduated from Mercer Law School and stayed in Macon through the summer to study for the Georgia bar exam. Her future was finally beginning to come together. Then she disappeared. Lauren was last seen alive on the evening of June 25, 2011. In the days that followed, friends became alarmed when she suddenly stopped responding to calls and messages. Lauren followed strict routines while studying for the bar exam. Vanishing without explanation was completely unlike her. On the morning of June 30th, several friends arrived at Barristers Hall to check on her. Police had already been contacted. Lauren's father was driving to Macon to file a missing persons report while her mother prepared to fly in later that day. That morning, something unusual happened. Stephen McDaniel came outside and joined the group searching for Lauren. Neighbors later said they had almost never seen him socialize during the 3 years he lived there. Yet suddenly, on the exact morning Lauren was reported missing, he stayed beside her friends the entire time, acting concerned and cooperative. What nobody realized was that a garbage truck scheduled to empty the dumpsters that morning had been delayed after police vehicles accidentally blocked access to the parking lot. That delay changed everything. Investigators at the scene noticed a strong odor coming from a large green trash can nearby. Inside, wrapped in multiple plastic bags, they discovered the dismembered torso of a young woman. DNA later confirmed the remains belonged to Lauren Giddings. Her head, arms, and legs were never recovered. Later that same day, local reporter Hannah Hilliard interviewed Stephen McDaniel outside the apartment complex. On camera, he described Lauren as nice as can be and spoke like a worried neighbor trying to process a tragedy. Then the reporter casually mentioned that police had recovered a body near the apartments. The reaction became one of the most disturbing moments ever captured in a true crime interview. McDaniel's body visibly collapsed. He appeared unable to stand. At first glance, it looked like shock or grief. Investigators saw something entirely different. That afternoon, police brought residents from the complex in for questioning. McDaniel came voluntarily and continued presenting himself as a concerned friend. During questioning, detectives noticed fresh scratches across his stomach consistent with fingernail marks. McDaniel claimed he probably scratched himself while sleeping. Investigators also asked permission to search apartments throughout the complex. Every resident agreed, except Stephen McDaniel. Eventually, he allowed a limited walkthrough while accompanying detectives room by room. Inside, they discovered deeply concerning evidence: a master key capable of opening every apartment in the building, items belonging to Lauren, packaging for a Stanley hacksaw, and blood traces matching Lauren on a bedsheet. The investigation quickly expanded. McDaniel eventually admitted he had secretly broken into neighbors' apartments before. He claimed he entered only to steal condoms while residents were away. That confession alone gave police grounds to arrest him for burglary. But what investigators later uncovered on his computer revealed something far darker. Forensic analysis showed months of obsessive digital surveillance focused on Lauren Giddings. Beginning in April 2011, nearly 2 months before her murder, McDaniel repeatedly searched Lauren's social media accounts, photographs, wish lists, and online activity. Investigators identified more than 14,000 searches tied to violent fantasies, stalking behavior, and methods of avoiding police detection. Under the username SOL, meaning Son of Liberty, McDaniel posted on online forums discussing murder, body disposal, and ways to avoid getting caught. Some posts specifically referenced dismemberment and dumping remains in trash containers. He later insisted those discussions were hypothetical. They weren't. Investigators discovered he had scouted remote woods owned by his grandfather weeks before the murder, examining locations where body parts could be hidden. Surveillance footage also showed him visiting a sporting goods store shortly before Lauren's death, studying boat anchors despite not owning a boat. Police believed he considered using them to weigh down remains underwater. By then, he had already stolen a master key to the apartment complex. He had already researched Lauren's security lock online, and he had already begun secretly filming her apartment. Recovered footage showed McDaniel attaching a camera to a long wooden pole and using it to peer through Lauren's windows during the nights leading up to the murder. He documented his own stalking behavior. Nothing about this was impulsive. It was methodical. On the night of June 25th, Lauren returned home after stopping for food. It would become the last confirmed sighting of her alive. According to McDaniel's later confession, sometime after 4:30 the next morning, he entered Lauren's apartment wearing gloves and a mask. He used the stolen master key while she slept. When Lauren woke up and recognized him, he strangled her. He placed her body in the bathtub and calmly returned to his own apartment. Hours later, investigators found internet activity showing him casually browsing websites and watching movies while Lauren's body remained next door. The following night, he returned with a hacksaw. He dismembered her body in the bathtub, placed the remains into trash bags, and distributed them between dumpsters and garbage bins around the complex and nearby campus areas. Most of Lauren's remains have never been found. The evidence against McDaniel became overwhelming. Surveillance footage, online searches, forensic evidence, the stolen key, the hacksaw packaging, blood evidence, the stalking videos, and finally his own written confession. In August 2011, he was formally charged with murder. Years later, prosecutors reached a plea agreement rather than pursue the death penalty. On April 21st, 2014, Stephen McDaniel pleaded guilty to murdering Lauren Giddings and received a life sentence with the possibility of parole decades later. But even after conviction, one detail continued haunting the case. Lauren knew something was wrong before anyone else did. She sensed someone had been inside her apartment. She sensed she was being watched. And she was right. What makes this story so disturbing is not only the violence, it's how visible the warning signs actually were. The stalking, the obsession, the planning, the escalating behavior. None of it truly happened in secret. But no system stepped in before it was too late. Lauren Giddings was 27 years old. She should have had decades ahead of her. Instead, she became the center of one of the most chilling true crime cases in modern Georgia history, a case that still leaves behind one terrifying question. How close can danger get before anyone finally sees it?